Morning people, welcome back to F Politics. We need to talk about the interview that Tory MP and campaign committee member of the Vote Leave campaign, Andrea Leadsom, just gave on Sky News. But before we do, the definition of gaslighting according to the Cambridge Dictionary is to trick or control somebody by making them believe that their memories or beliefs about something are wrong, especially by suggesting they may be mentally ill. So keep that in mind.
I thought Brexit was done.
Yes, 4 years ago we left the EU.
When the Tories promised to get Brexit done in 2019, they were appealing to the fact that everybody in the country was absolutely exhausted with Brexit. Specifically, the arguments, the fact that it was taking so much time in Parliament, the negotiations with the EU, and the economic uncertainty. The manifesto they got elected on even specified that getting Brexit done means settling our relationship with the EU permanently. And yet last year, 3 years after Brexit, they negotiated a new deal on Northern Ireland with the EU. Today, the government is proposing a new law to change how that new Brexit deal works. Today, we're about to start checking products that we import from the EU, which is making several sectors of the UK economy start screaming in panic. So to suggest that Brexit was done 4 years ago simply because we ended the old relationship with the EU is lying to our faces.
So what's happening?
Do you mean the plant checks?
Yes.
Yeah, so essentially that is one of the points about leaving the single market is that there is increased checks at the borders because you're not in the single market. That's absolutely known about ever since 2016 when the decision to leave the EU was made.
She's saying that everybody understood that Brexit would mean leaving the EU single market back in 2016. Well, here's one of her fellow campaign committee members of Vote Leave, Daniel Hannan, in 2016.
No one is prejudicing the cross-channel trade. Absolutely nobody is talking about threatening our place in the single market.
Yeah, but carry on.
But the point is that since leaving the EU, the UK has been able to sign up to, I think, 70 trade deals, including the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is the area of the world from where up to 50% of global growth is expected to come in future decades.
It's interesting that they're willing to believe predictions about growth when it's in their interest, but when their own government experts say that Brexit is costing 4% of our economy, which is twice what the pandemic has done, that's Project Fear. Not to mention, the government is well aware that the trade deals they've done since Brexit don't even scratch the surface of the damage that Brexit itself has done.
Yeah, but the government has acknowledged that it's going to cost businesses in the UK an extra £330 million a year.
So, again, there are big opportunities from free trade deals. We have huge trading arrangements with the United States.
President Biden literally just said, fuck off.
Pacific Partnership, two other free trade deals. Well, actually, businesses always face the cost of doing business.
Sorry, what in the shit does that mean? Businesses always face the cost of doing business. Yeah, but you've made those costs go up.
Businesses knew at the time of Brexit that in leaving the European single market, there would be additional checks at the border because by definition, we were no longer in that single market. There was no surprise about that.
See, this is where the gaslighting really comes in because yes, businesses were constantly warning about the damage that her Brexit would do to them, but she told them off for not getting behind Brexit enough. She treated anybody that dared to question the amazing success of Brexit as if they were a traitor to the UK.
You've got a negotiating position which is completely unclear. You're hearing that from the President of the EU Parliament. We've got a political system which is unstable. Many believe our economy is unfair. Living standards are falling. What can you point to now and say that's going well?
Early days, but it would be helpful.
It would be helpful
and these if broadcasters were willing to be a bit patriotic.
And it's especially dishonest of her to say that everybody understood that Brexit would create trade barriers with the EU when she stood behind this guy.
All those who say that there would be barriers to trade with Europe if we were to do a Brexit. It is totally and utterly absurd.
But she's still being positive about Brexit.
Businesses need to adapt to meet the changing environment. There are huge opportunities from the rest of the world.
Which is funny because I just found out that this was Andrea Leadsom in 2013.
I'm going to nail my colours to the mast here. I don't think the UK should leave the EU. I think it would be a disaster for our economy and it would lead to a decade of economic and political uncertainty at a time when the tectonic plates of global success are moving.
And when she was confronted about it on the Mars show, her response...
Why was that Andrea Leadsom so wrong?
Well, you know, it has been a journey.
So just like Boris Johnson, who's also on record as saying that Brexit would be a disaster in 2013, she knowingly blew up her own country for a government job. She intentionally made 65 million people poorer after a decade of austerity so that she could ride a wave of nationalism into Downing Street. And do you want to see the level of compassion that she has for the small businesses that are about to suffer because they can't afford the import charges that are about to go up tonight?
And obviously, what some businesses will do is continue to trade with the EU and absorb those costs, and others will choose to find access from elsewhere.
Translation: hey small businesses, if because of Brexit you can no longer afford to import from continental Europe, which is 20 miles away, why not try importing from the other side of the planet? And also, when she says absorb those costs, tell me, were those costs deducted from the £350 million a week that her campaign said we'd save via Brexit? Or the £20 billion a year that her Prime Minister said we'd save? So to suggest that we all knew we'd be poorer if we voted for Brexit, and so it's not really her fault, even though she spent years accusing anybody who questioned Brexit of being a Romaniac and unpatriotic, is textbook gaslighting. I'm Femi, make sure you follow F Politics so politics doesn't F you. Have a great week.